Well, today, jurors in the Lindsay Clancy trial heard very difficult testimony about the deaths of her three children. Dr. Renee Stonebridge, who works at the medical examiner's office, examining the children's bodies while she was on the stand today. Lindsay Clancy visibly shaking, very emotional during that doctor's testimony. Prosecutors say, though, she planned these murders of her children, while Clancy's defense says she was suffering from severe postpartum psychosis. Clancy has pleaded not guilty to the charges. NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris joins us now. She has been following every step of this testimony from the beginning. Very long, graphic testimony. We saw Clancy's reaction there. Take us through it.
This was really difficult testimony today. If you remember, the medical examiner was on the stand earlier in the trial speaking about her examination of Callan, that's the 8-month-old child. Today on the stand talking about 5-year-old Cora and 3-year-old Dawson, talking about the amount of time it would take to stop oxygen throw, 6 to 8 minutes, talking about other injuries that she observed. Lindsay Clancy visibly, hysterically crying in the courtroom to the point where the judge had to break. Another medical examiner took the stand after, crying hysterically again, audible even on the feed, Laura, as I'm watching court currently in a break because of that. It was that loud and it was that intense. The judge reminding the jury with an instruction: you cannot base your determination and decision on emotion. You have to base it on the evidence that's in the courtroom.
So while this is all happening, we also have seen all of this sort of talk about her state of mind. Some of the testimony, even though it's coming from the prosecutors in the state, you say it has actually benefited the defense. How so?
So the prosecution has put on every doctor that's treated Lindsay Clancy. We've heard a lot about her medical treatment from September of 2022, leading all the way up into the killing of the children in January 24th, 2023. So, Laura, in the direct examination, we heard about Lindsay Clancy and everything she was reporting to her doctors: suicidal ideations, horrible thoughts. And what we heard on cross-examination is that a lot of coordination was not done between these multiple doctors. She was complaining a lot of the medications that she was taking, and to really no avail except prescribing more. So some of that is really fitting into this defense narrative that this is a woman desperately looking for help and unable to find it, although she's advocating and telling her providers where she is falling short and what her issues are. So it really kind of fit into the defense narrative, and it was really apparent on cross-examination, especially that factor that these medical professionals are not coordinating her care.
And we still haven't even gotten to the defense case.
Right.
Okay, so this morning we also heard from this police sergeant who was on the stand. It causes this whole dust-up, a whole sidebar, if you will, outside the presence of the jury. They don't get to hear what happens in sidebar. For people who didn't see it, why does this matter?
Yeah, they called it an animated sidebar. So this police officer was guarding Lindsay Clancy, keeping her in custody while she was in the hospital. The defense asked him, were you aware that when a psychiatrist who was retained by the defense to meet with Lindsay Clancy via court order went in, that the prosecution has a narrative that psychiatrist, again by the defense, told Lindsay Clancy to say she heard voices? So you can see why there was this dust-up about whether or not the defense could even ask that question.
Yeah, well, there's just so many twists and turns in this case. I'm so glad you're covering it so carefully. Misty, as always, good to see you. Coming up